Hey guys, welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. My name is Brian.
And my name is Maggie.
And we interview Asian entrepreneurs around the world to amplify their voices and empower Asians to pursue their dreams and goals.
We believe that each person has a message and a unique story from their entrepreneurial journey that they can share with all of us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Viet Ly. Viet is a graduate of the University of Washington Foster Business School in 2000 with a business administration degree in finance and marketing. Viet has over 20 years of experience in investing, trading, venture capital, market forecasting, and business development. Viet helped build a gene therapy biotech company, Genprex, and take it to IPO on Nasdaq in 2018. Viet is passionate about global markets, building businesses, marketing, emerging technology, and biotechnology. He loves spending time with his family with 3 young children, having a beer with friends, watching movies, and playing contact flag football. Viet, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited. I love AHN, so this is great.
Awesome.
I'm so excited to have you here.
So let's jump right into it. Viet, tell us about your upbringing, where you came from, what or who has shaped you into the person that you are today.
All right. My name is Viet Ly, and I'm a second-generation Vietnamese American. I'm a venture capitalist and investor from Seattle. My father was Nguyen Ly, the top gun and captain of the South Vietnamese Air Force during the fall of Saigon and the end of the Vietnam War. He flew over 700 missions and never was shot down or lost a wingman, and was the #1 fighter pilot supporting South Vietnamese troops and U.S. troops. He was trained by the U.S. Air Force in America and was so talented the military asked him to stay in the U.S., but he declined and instead chose to go back to Vietnam to fight for his country. My mom was from Saigon, and both left Vietnam for America during the end of the war. Our family was born from war, but we always say that we are now all peacemakers. We were raised in Mukilteo, Washington, a suburb of Seattle, in a mostly white affluent neighborhood. My mother was a total tiger mom, very strict disciplinarian, and basically taught us all the mathematics through algebra before kindergarten. So school was very easy for us. My father was always supportive of my business ideas and investing, and really helping fund my investing start. My parents owned an Asian food market, so I got to learn about business growing up. I graduated from the University of Washington Business School with a finance and marketing concentration, and started trading stocks and options at 18.
Wow.
This is like late mid 90s, early 2000s, and it did extremely well. I was up 2,000% back-to-back years in 2004, 2005, almost winning the $1 million CNBC stock portfolio challenge twice. That's kind of something I love. Wow. Both times turning 1 million into 3 million in 2 months. And then our focus area was on cancer biotech with my biotech analyst brother, who was a big part of my success too. So we saw the rise of Avastin, Tarceva, Erbitux, Nexavar. So when I was 16, my best friend's mom passed away from ovarian cancer, and that shook me up big time. I made a promise to myself to destroy cancer if I could, as ridiculous as that may sound. And ultimately found that investing in biotech and developing cancer therapies was that outlet, which ultimately led me to Genprex. Mm-hmm. So around 2010, we started focusing on investing in the private markets. And we started investing in brand name private companies, which we project to go to IPO. So we started investing in Facebook, starting at like $30 a share, Twitter. We invested in Airbnb starting in 2013 at around $5 a share, and SpaceX in 2015 at around 11 billion valuation, and now it's near 50 billion.
Wow.
But my greatest accomplishment to date, though, is helping build, invest, and take public via Nasdaq IPO with Genprex, our gene therapy company based in Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. I helped the CEO Rodney and the team with strategy, financing, and developing our cancer gene therapy for MD Anderson, and also our potential gene therapy cure for diabetes from the University of Pittsburgh. So, what shaped me and who shaped me to the person I am today. Outside of my dad, Bruce Lee was like my big role model growing up. I think a lot of people, a lot of Asians, Bruce Lee was their main guy. Mm-hmm. And cool story, I chose to go to UW because of Bruce Lee, who grew up in Seattle and also went to UW. Mm-hmm. And today my sister DM Lee, who previously was the chief editor of the International Examiner in Seattle, the nation's largest Asian newspaper. It is really good friends with Shannon and Linda Lee, Bruce Lee's family. So that's always, that's really cool. How has that translated to my success? My father and Bruce Lee both made me think big. I mean, thinking real big, curing cancer and diabetes, saying that is just crazy. But if I didn't know any better, I don't really know what's impossible. No one's telling me that I cannot be done, or I'm not encumbered by other people's doubts. And I love that. And I, if I was, I wouldn't even try, right? So what I do is I try to find solutions on my own research, and I don't look for industry approval. And the established biotech industry looks at us as a threat. So, I don't look towards them. We're seeking greatness. We really are. We want to make history. And if we cure diabetes and some cancers with our gene therapies, that would be a great beginning. And I believe, Genprex is the Tesla of biotech. And we're a major biotech disruptor, and we're going to show it this year with new upcoming data from our cancer trials. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow, thank you for all of that information.
That was amazing.
We need to take a while to digest all of that real quick.
Yeah. So let me know if I'm going too fast.
So we quickly dive back into, Bruce Lee being your inspiration in Seattle and growing up in a pretty predominantly white area. What was your view on Asian identity growing up? Like, did you view yourself as or did you ever feel like you stuck out so much that you need to fit in? Like, what was that?
Yes, I tried to fit in. I mean, I hated my name. I hated, I just wanted to be another, just a regular kid, going to a school. But over time, as I grew older, I totally embraced it. As a kid, you just want to be just like everyone else, basically. And as you grow older, you want to be differentiated from everyone else. Right. You know what I mean? Right? What makes you special? Right? And so later in my life, I just embraced my Vietnamese heritage, but it wasn't always that way. Having a tiger mom made it difficult too. but it was an experience that I just had, and it really shaped who I was. It really made me competitive because my tiger mom would tell me, you're against the world, like everything, like you got to fight for everything, and so it made me just super ultra competitive in a lot of respects, which is sometimes bad. It's like you don't have to compete on everything. You can work as a team, and really it's about love and and loving other people and learning to love other people. So as I grew, I also grew spiritually, and that also is very important too. So that's how growing up, that's how my identity was formed as an Asian.
Interesting too. I love that. I love that journey that you went through. I feel like a lot of us are going through that journey too, where we grew up wasn't proud of Asian, and now we are. Yeah. And we're owning our Asian heritage. Yeah. And out of curiosity too, like you started investing into stocks and options at such a young age and found success. Like, what was that transition over into like entrepreneurship and Genprex? I want to hear more about Genprex. Yeah. Like, how'd you meet Robbie? How'd you be involved in the company? And congratulations on taking it to IPO.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such a milestone. And we know, I know you talked about the inspiration behind Genprex, but talk about, how it has grown over over the years.
We want to hear you. Any hardship stories too.
Any
totally. I got it. I got you some. Okay. So what inspired me to start my business was truly helping save lives and improving the lives around the world from these devastating diseases and save people that we love. My best friend's mom was a reason I really focus on cancer. And so, 2 years ago, I learned about my friend's father who passed away from type 2 diabetes after having his arms and legs amputated. After my research, I discovered that diabetes affects 35 million Americans and is a health crisis outside of COVID-19. It's like the number 2 right now. When including pre-diabetic Americans, it affects, 1 in every 3 people in the US. Diabetes healthcare related costs in the US reaches almost $300 billion a year, right? And could you imagine just wiping that cost off the healthcare system? Could you imagine impacting the healthcare premiums and the removal of stress to the healthcare system, right? There's estimates that diabetes affects over 500 million people around the world. So when I say that, Genprex could ultimately save hundreds of millions of lives, I'm not kidding. This has inspired me to look for new undiscovered gene therapies for diabetes. And so after lots of research, months and months of research, that is when in 2018, I discovered Dr. George Gitti's, Harvard alum and inventor genius doctor in his diabetes gene therapy at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. And immediately I reached out to him, talked to him, and brought him on board, helped him develop the program, partner and license with Genprex, along with the help from our CEO, Rodney, and the team. And, so the drug works by delivering 2 proteins into your pancreas and converting alpha cells into insulin-producing beta cells within your pancreas without surgery. So this will help potentially cure type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So these are the big problems I want to work on, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's. And as technology advances, do you really think that we cannot solve these humanitarian issues? We will, and it's only a matter of time, in my opinion. And so currently, I believe I have also discovered a potential gene therapy and strategy for Alzheimer's, and is in development. And so I'm all in stealth mode right now. And my wife's side of the family has Alzheimer's, so for me, it's like a personal race, against time, and also inspires me to work harder than anyone else. So I've been looking for an effective treatment for Alzheimer's for 15 years, and so far, 99% of all potential therapies have failed. That's a crazy thing. Building my experience, building my business, building a biotech startup is difficult, right? And expensive. And the real value of the company lies in the therapy patents, the data, the doctor inventors, and the science. In the past 10 years, the proliferation of CROs, it's an acronym for contract research organizations, which are expert consultants for every aspect of a biotech operations, including manufacturing, clinical trials, legal, et cetera, right, have greatly reduced the cost of operating and starting a biotech, which is a major positive for biotech entrepreneurs, cutting operating and startup costs by over 50%. And so we were able to kind of build Genprex using this system and delegating out typically very expensive operational departments. What are some lessons, that I've learned along the way, and advice that I give entrepreneurs? Pick team members. I'll go by bullet points here, but pick team members carefully. Do not give equity in your company until over a period of time, like 6 months to a year. Find great mentors, study from the greats, right? And synthesize those lessons into your field. One of my favorite books is the Book of Business Wisdom, with stories and lessons from business greats like Rockefeller, Ford, Thomas Edison. These stories are amazing, and they last through time. They're durable. It doesn't matter what type of widget you sell. It's the same. It really is the same processes and really the same philosophies through business. And this has held through generations, right? Emotional intelligence. Another point I want to bring out is emotional intelligence is important, especially if you want to be a leader, work on it. So emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically, right? Empathetically. So if you are a small business owner, watch CNBC show The Profit. I love Marcus Lemonis. To learn about the 3 Ps to success: product, process, and people, right? And another point that I like to make is I also believe it is important to be liked. I want to stress that in order to join or build a team, in order to accomplish your individual and team goals, you may be a genius, but if you're not well liked, that will harm your ability to retain talent, recruit others. In marketing, I've learned that if people like you, they may buy a similar or slightly inferior product than if they dislike you. And have them buy and your product's premium, they might not buy it, right? Even though. So, and one of my favorite books in this area, which Brian brought up, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Oh, this is like business 101, like a classic, really. But it's true. And another point I recently saw was a new study that said that personal relationships affect work performance. So choose your mate and those who you surround yourself wisely. Guard your heart, right? Mm-hmm. Another one is remember to not to ignore spiritual growth, because you need an anchor. I myself am a loving Christian, but people should realize that money can create and can destroy you. And people know what I mean when I talk about that. In the Asian cultures, we talk about it a lot, and my mom used to tell me about that all the time. And without an anchor, you will move with the seas, right? Wherever the wind's blowing, wherever the sea's moving. So now in regards to investing, look for great risk reward ratios in order to skew your probabilities of success. So what I look for is like a 5-to-1 or a 10-to-1 ratio. Meaning I may risk $1 to gain 5 or to gain 10, right? So, and if you do 10 of those, right, and they all have those same probabilities, but they're all high probability, potential successes, then you have skewed mathematically your probabilities to success, right? Okay. And so another one is I like long-term investing over trading, even though I grew up as a trader. It was exceptionally hard. It's like taking the SATs every day because you're up against, the world's best in trading and investing. So I try to tell people not to trade and try not to day trade and just really focus on long-term investing. And so I have, in my opinion, it is easy to just invest into an ETF. A SPY, or my favorite is IWO, which is the Russell 2000, right, into a ETF IWO. But they change it. They change the allocation of those 2,000 highest growing stocks.
What the ETF and all those terminologies mean?
Yeah. So an ETF is a stock, right, that trades that trades and tracks an index of other companies. So the Russell 2000 is a index of the 2,000 fastest growing companies in the US, and they change it. They'll, some will drop off, they'll add new ones, but that constant reallocation change is done by Russell investments and not done by you. And so by investing in the IWO, you get that benefit of these reallocations, rechanges into new growths. And so then, the stock or the ETF, the IWO, that tracks the index changes to and tracks the Russell 2000 index. So it goes up, the stock, that ticker and ETF goes up as well in the same sinking fashion. Yeah, over time, right? And so my opinion is, you just invest in that every month or every year or whatnot, and focus on 10 to 20 years, down the road, and this will help you build your retirement, and you don't have to stock pick. That's a problem. Sometimes it's a lot of work. And for me, I even now today, I hate trading stocks because it takes a lot of my bandwidth and it takes me away from my other duties of helping my companies and helping build companies. So that's why, I suggest doing that. Another cool thing is, some of my favorite books, so this is really, really cool, is Cracking Creativity and Thinking Like Leonardo da Vinci, right? So in my opinion, it can help creatives and innovators move to the next level, as it did for me. And this is 10 years ago, right? And what it does is it helps restructure your mental creative thought process, right? So you will learn that creative genius thinking can be learned, taught, and applied using mental techniques and not dependent on your IQ.
Right.
Okay. So that's the very, very, for example, there's this mental creative technique in Cracking Creativity, and he studied Nobel Prize winners, right? And the greatest thinkers of all time, Edison, you name it, right? And so, for example, so what he does, he called this, some Nobel Prize winners use it. It's called mind popping. So mind popping is when a solution idea seems to appear after a period of incubation out of nowhere. So your subconscious mind never rests, right? And by setting up a mental system of network thinking between your conscious and subconscious, where ideas, images, and concepts from completely unrelated problems combine to catalyze the nascent moment of creativity. It's pretty interesting. So it's fun. It's amazing to do. I do it a ton, and I don't. They say sometimes write on a piece of paper your problems. So if you go through the book, they'll have a bunch of these exercises you do, and you don't have to do them. You can mentally do it over time. You can just train your brain to think the same processes, the thought processes, the mental processes of the most creative geniuses of our time, and you can do that. Right. And so, and another learning technique that I learned is from Elon Musk. And he likes to use what is called first principles thinking. And so first principles thinking means boiling things down to the most fundamental truths and then reasoning up from there. Right. So Musk has used this for the cost of batteries as an example. So he'll building from scratch and calculating the cost of raw materials, and building his own batteries is a better and cheaper way than buying from a manufacturer. Right. So Elon also likes to deconstruct ideas and processes for semantic tree and for the unveiling of fundamental principles within that. This also helps your ability to reverse engineer solutions and ideas from the final goal, right, to the present, right? So it's amazing. And so over time, again, these are all techniques, and you can learn these techniques and apply them to your field of specialty, and it'll take you to the next level. Typically, this is what I've seen. And finally, watch Angela Duckworth's TED Talk on grit. The power of passion and perseverance. And I think you guys know about this. And as a teacher, she realized that IQ wasn't the only thing that separates success and failure, and explains her theory of grit as a predictor of success. And grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. But yeah, take a look at it. It's short. There's a short version, then there's a longer version. But you'll love it. It's just a great talk. But that's that kind of that in a nutshell. I can talk about my struggles if you guys want to.
I want to hear about your struggles.
Yeah.
All right. I had a big struggle.
I love everything you just said. We can definitely see like where you get your passion from. And I definitely agree.
You're very passionate.
You are very passionate, and we love that about you. And I definitely agree.
Thank you.
As we go into next generations, I definitely do think that there is a cure to these humanitarian issues with like diabetes and cancer. And I definitely think that, we're going to get there. And what you're doing with Genprex is so amazing. And just talking about like EQ and grit and everything like that is so important. Like Brian and I talk about that all the time.
All the time, yeah.
It's just as important as IQ, if not more important, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like,
it's the people that don't quit. They just don't quit.
Exactly.
Like no matter what, they're just plugging along. But but at the same time, for me as a trader, I've learned to cut my losses. And so there's a point there, where it's better to cut a loss than to maintain that path. So I have this kind of a balance kind of thing, a trader mentality a little bit. But I guess it's about quitting the wrong things, or learning what to quit and how to quit, or what, and how that fits into grit. But grit is way more important than quitting. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
We'll love to know about you personally, and what type of struggles and challenges you went through, and how you grew as a person.
Personally, I think a big thing that I was able to overcome in my personal life was, I know this might sound funny, but to be able to truly forgive my mom as a tiger mom. Growing up with a tiger mom is not easy, man. Like, I'm serious. It was hard. It was emotionally draining. It was a lot of spanking. I mean, Vietnamese people spank, dude, it's like, and so, but I for some reason imprinted this emotional anger towards my mom. And I didn't even know about it until like later, like 20 years old, dude, then I'm like, okay, where's this anger coming from? So I had to like basically weed it out. I like source it out through meditation and through other means of just trying to figure out, okay, why am I so angry? What's going on here? And I could tell that there was a root, and that root was imprinted because of my mom. And I just, there was a point, yes, I was really angry at my mom, hated my mom at certain points of my life growing up because she was so stringent and so disciplinarian, and I was, pretty popular kid in high school and loved to party. I was really smart, but also at the same time, I tried to be more social, and I wanted to be more social and go to these parties and this and that. And my mom wouldn't let me, so I'd sneak out. And I mean, the full thing, right? And so just like every other kid going through the same issues I went through. But as soon as I was able to recognize that root, I could just pull it out. And I have to repeat it, because your brain, it's like a tape recorder. You constantly have to re-emphasize that a new message over the old message constantly, because the old message will come up. You have to recognize it, and then re-record a new message over that. And so I learned a lot of this through psychology classes through the University of Washington, which was huge, and marketing, in my opinion, is just business psychology. And so that kind of helped with learning about marketing too, and how it works in business, and how psychology works in business. And but again, back to my mom, as soon as I was able to figure that out, I was able to root it out, and I just forgave my mom mentally. My mom could care less. She doesn't know what I'm going through at that time, but so she had no clue, and I didn't even tell her. How we don't talk about this stuff with our parents, man. It's like, it's true. We're not. There are not very many open emotional channels between parents and Vietnamese families internally. There isn't a lot. I hope that changes, right? And I think it is a little bit. There's a lot of people talking about it, and just talking about it can help the next generation, be able to talk to their parents a little bit more and be more open to it. And then vice versa, parents being more open and talking to their kids a little bit more after learning about this from other people, right? And through AHN or through other channels. But as soon as I was able, I'm serious, as soon as I was able to truly forgive, not to say, oh yeah, mom, I totally forgive you, this and that. No. You have to do it constantly, because again, you've imprinted this while you were young and you grew up with it. So it's a message that's there, and until you pull it out, destroy it, it will always stick with you. And that anger morphs. That anger morphs into different parts of your life, different aspects of your life, different parts of work, relationships, all that. But as soon as I was able to recognize it and repeatedly destroyed it and removed it and repeatedly taped over it and changed it, it was the greatest weight lifted off my shoulders. I mean, I'm telling you, it was huge. Yeah. And so I was able to just be able to move forward. And man, I just didn't have to carry that anymore. It was just awesome. But yeah, so that personally, that was the biggest thing personally in my life that I was able to do. And I wasn't able to do that until about mid-20s, right? And I always tell people, 20s, you're going to screw up, do it, don't worry about it, learn, get experience, because 20s is, you're just starting off in the world. You don't know anything really. I mean, you're just building it, and it's okay. 30s is when you apply everything that you've learned, all your mistakes, everything in your 30s, and really apply it to your workforce, because this is when you're really set. You have 10 years of experience in your work field, you know what I mean, right? 5 years. I mean, now you're starting to get into this cruise control in your 30s, and that's when you really start blowing up. I didn't start blowing up until about in my 30s, and then 40s, I'm just killing it, killing it right now. But now, as for my work, my biggest struggle work, man, this is crazy. This is a great story though. But one of the biggest obstacles I ever faced was a couple years ago. After our Genprex IPO, a short selling firm put out an erroneous and factually incorrect article about Genprex.
Oh, wow.
It was straight out of the show Billions, man. Like, I'm serious. Like, my life is crazy. And they said that our cancer drug, Recorsa, was a previously failed P53 targeted gene therapy drug. It is not a P53 gene drug, but is actually a TUSC2 gene therapy drug. So TUSC2 is a tumor suppressor gene that we're actually inputting back into the cancer cell, and then it causes apoptosis, which is cell death. Right. So for some reason, over time, age, and cell division, your cells may lose this tumor suppressor gene. And by losing this tumor suppressor gene, it actually is the initiator for tumor growth into that cell. Do you see what I'm saying? So what we're doing is we're re-injecting that back, which was supposed to be there in the first place. And so that's the beauty of this drug. And so this guy who has a zero biology background, nothing, right? Wow. And he's writing about our biotech company and says that it's a drug, he totally misidentifies it. Right. And the writer and he's also running a hedge fund platform and doing, so he's like, doing some fluff articles, or I don't know what he's doing, but he's working in a cahoots with a bunch of other people. And he correctly misidentified our drug and also disparaged our auditors, who, by the way, have won accounting awards in Florida. And then they tried to kind of like politicize our company, like, I don't know what he was trying with that angle, which was absolutely false, because we are not political at all. small in that regard. And so they were working with other short hedge funds, we think, and trying to profit from their short positions, right? So it took like a year or so to be able to clear the air and even to get rid of these short stock manipulators who have been previously fined by the SEC for the same shenanigans they pulled on us, right? But this was tough because since I was the one fielding, tons of calls from everyone, asking me if this is true. That are you a fake? Is this totally untrue? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, and then are you, this and that? Are you political? And this, I was like, I couldn't. So I just told them, no, it's not true. But I had to go through this, and it didn't make things easy. That's for sure. Brought up a lot of questions for other people to bring up questions about, questioning where this is coming from or the whole story. Just everything, right? If they go after your whole biotech, then, and basically the drug, it's damaging. And so we had to fight it off. And so we were able to get rid of them, and those vultures are gone now, thank God. And we now can actually focus on bigger things, which is, to change the world and try to save lives. But yeah, so we had to deal with that for about a year or so. And now, of course, it's proven as false, right? Wow. But damage is done, right? So, but still the future is bright and we just have to execute upon it and bring out some data, run these clinical trials. And, the proof is going to be in the pudding. So, so I'm not worried about it. Biotech is interesting. It's all based on science. So you can kind of handicap the probabilities and odds of success by looking at the science and the data, which is factual, right? Which is hard data. So you can basically project probabilities of success with that cancer drug or that therapy based on previous data on humans. So that's how we do it. And so based on that, I fully expect with high conviction, high probability that we're going to be very successful. But right now it's all about execution. Just like everything else in the startup world, right? Like you could have great ideas. That's wonderful. Yeah. Great ideas are a dime a dozen in Silicon Valley. Execution is where it separates the wheat from the shaft. It's all about execution. Always has been about execution. So, so yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. Thank you for sharing your struggles, Viet. Loved hearing both of those stories. I'm so glad that you were able to overcome them. And I'm glad that you were able to reconcile with your mother as well. And I think that a lot of Asians also resonate with that story because a lot of us grew up with tiger parents, right? And it involves a lot of trauma, growing up with tiger parents. And I think that one important thing to note is that when we actually forgive our parents, sometimes we're not even doing it for ourselves, but we do it for our parents as well, because maybe our parents are looking to forgive and reconcile as well, but they don't know how to. And that's okay, right? Because they're in a different generation and they don't know how to reach out. And so I love that you're able to recognize that, you need to forgive your mom in order for you to move on with your life. And that kind of trickle down to everything else in your life with
it totally did.
Your personal life. And just love that.
Yeah. Yeah. My story is very similar to so many people. And so that's why I love AHN. I was just reading, I was like, what? Same thing? It's like hundreds of stories, not just like 2 or 3. It's like, so I just love that we're helping each other out. And that's just awesome. So, you guys keep on, and, I'm going to be helping the AHN too. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be an investor and helping you guys out wherever I can. To help bring this, to the masses, although it's doing great already, I think. So, yeah.
Love that. And so we have one last question for you. Sure. And that is, what is your goal for 2021?
What is your one big audacious goal for 2021?
One audacious. I want to try to prove this proof of concept gene therapy for Alzheimer's that it works. And so we have to basically first prove it in mice and pigs potentially, but that's ongoing right now. So we're hoping that that's my big focus right now. But Genprex, same thing with our diabetes. I'm helping with that and our cancer gene therapies. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm really focused on. I'm really excited about. But yes, I'd have to say those are the things. And also, I'm looking forward to at the end of this Corona deal, man. Like this is just like I don't think any of us are going to take anything for granted anymore. Man, I'm going to be hugging people like for crazy, man, when I start seeing people, and stuff like that. But I think that's going to be, the beginning of the end for Corona too. Although, there's going to be some issues moving forward, even after lots of vaccinations. It's going to be still around a little bit. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I think it is the beginning of the end. And I'm looking forward to that as well. So
definitely.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today, Viet. It was amazing hearing about you and your story. How can our listeners learn more about you online?
They can follow me.
Or reach out.
Yes. Yeah. I am on Facebook, and I am on Twitter and Instagram as well. You can find me, but I'm very active on Twitter. I talk about the markets, and I focus, and I analyze the markets on that, and I talk about Genprex and everything about those areas on Twitter mostly. But yes, I'd be happy to help other people. So just reach out.
Wow, awesome! Thank you so much for being on the show today, Viet.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to the show.
We would like to get to the top 10 on iTunes, so be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We release an episode every single Wednesday, so stay tuned.
Thank you guys so much.